Hail to the Rainbow just launched on November 27, 2025. And if you missed it, you're sleeping on one of the most ambitious solo-developed games in recent memory. This game spent 5 years in development, survived the brutal indie gauntlet, and actually made it across the finish line with a 93% positive Steam rating. That alone tells you something real is happening here. The developer, Sergey Noskov, built this entire post-apocalyptic cyberpunk adventure mostly alone, using Unity, with only occasional help from a composer and voice actors. 5 years of solo work, and the result looks like something a much larger team would struggle to pull off. Sergey Noskov is not new to indie development. His portfolio includes 35mm, The Light, Seventh Sector, and The Train. These games all share a similar DNA, atmospheric, story-driven experiences that lean heavily into mood and immersion. In 2018, he released Seventh Sector, a cyberpunk platformer with logic puzzles. According to Noskov himself in a detailed development article on IndieDB, that project didn't resonate with audiences the way he hoped. But instead of giving up, he doubled down on what worked in his previous games. Atmosphere, protagonist perspective storytelling, horror elements, and strong dramatic storytelling. Work on Hail to the Rainbow began immediately after the Light remake in 2019, and he committed to making it a first-person adventure with shooter elements instead of another platformer.
Hail to the Rainbow takes place in post-apocalyptic Russia after a devastating military conflict collapsed a cyberpunk civilization. You play as Ignat, a young man who lost his parents and has been surviving alone in this dangerous, gloomy world. The setting draws inspiration from Half-Life 2, Blade Runner, and the artwork of Simon Stollenhag. Noskov specifically wanted the protagonist to be vulnerable rather than a tough action hero. In his own words from the IndieDB article, he thought it would be more immersive to play as someone for whom any confrontation with an enemy could pose a serious threat, allowing players to recall their own childhood sense of adventure and danger. The game's aesthetic has been described as Soviet cyberpunk, and visually, it absolutely nails that specific tone. The environments feel oppressive, melancholic, and strangely beautiful all at once. This is where Hail to the Rainbow starts to separate itself from typical indie fare. The character system is remarkably deep for a solo project. Noskov detailed in his development logs that the character controller includes health, temperature, battery charge for devices and flashlights, fatigue levels, multiple inventory items, a detector, a drone, weapons, and consumables. That's not window dressing. Those are functional survival mechanics built into a narrative-driven game. The hand animation system alone grew to nearly 100 animations over the development cycle, covering interactions with quest items, inventory usage, ladder climbing, puzzle solving, and combat. Noskov even explained the technical challenges of implementing first-person arms in Unity to prevent weapon clipping through objects. The game uses technical puzzles that require you to interact with computers, electronic records, and devices using that battery charge system. Combat includes both firearms and melee weapons, and reportedly features battles against metallic robots throughout the ruined Russian landscapes.
Hail to the Rainbow includes features you don't often see in indie titles. There's a full photo mode for capturing atmospheric moments in the game world. The developer said in a June 2024 update that he expected players would find a lot of nice places to create interesting shots in this world. But here's the feature that caught my attention. You can upload your own music files to the game folder, and the protagonist will listen to them during car driving sequences. That's the kind of small, personal touch that shows genuine care for player experience. The demo for Hail to the Rainbow has been available since October 2024, and it currently sits at 90% positive reviews with over 383 user ratings. The full game launched on November 27, 2025, with 93% positive reviews from 60 users in its first days. Players on Steam are calling it a masterpiece and praising the atmosphere, storyline mechanics, and design. One reviewer wrote that the atmosphere is simply amazing and found it hard to believe it was made mainly by one person. Another player confirmed it runs great on Steam Deck right out of the box, averaging around 40 FPS. The demo provides over an hour of gameplay, several cutscenes, and introduces the basic mechanics,
giving players a real sense of what the full experience offers.
Why this matters for gaming. 5 years of development, mostly solo work, no massive publisher backing, just one developer with a vision, a portfolio of atmospheric games, and the determination to see it through. Noskov has been transparent about the emotional toll of such a lengthy development process. In his IndieDB article, he admitted that it inevitably triggers a whole range of emotions, moods, sensations, highs and lows, and that these things are not always easy to deal with, and the process requires a great amount of patience. This is the reality of indie development that doesn't get talked about enough. Games like Hail to the Rainbow exist because developers like Noskov refuse to compromise their vision for market trends or publisher demands. He stuck with Unity despite considering Unreal Engine because it was what he knew best. He built complex systems incrementally over years. He revised and polished constantly. And now, players have access to a deeply atmospheric, technically impressive adventure game that simply wouldn't exist if he had given up after Seventh Sector underperformed. Hail to the Rainbow is available now on PC via Steam, with PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 versions reportedly planned for 2027. If you're looking for a story-driven first-person adventure that respects your intelligence, features real survival mechanics, and delivers an atmosphere that feels distinct from everything else releasing right now, this is worth your time. The free demo gives you over an hour to decide. Based on the reception and the developer's track record, Hail to the Rainbow deserves more attention than it's getting. What do you think about solo developers taking on projects of this scope? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you found this breakdown helpful, hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching.